which is obviously a flat Earth reference. I'm just going to do a live. I'm going to go live and have a little chat about FE Fractured, but I'm going to give it a few minutes, let a few people join the hangout. Why did I call it fracking? Fractured. I'll have to see. So there's a nice image to start it with. Cigarette butts. I'll just have to hang on and see if someone turns up. Have a chat.
It's quite early in the UK,
7
isn't it?
a.m. in the UK. Any other a.m. in will be afternoon in Australia. Nighttime in America. Hey Jack, how are you? Nice to see you. Slayed any giants lately? We've had a quiet spell ourselves. We haven't been doing much activism lately. Haven't had much opportunity to do activism. We hadn't had a car. But hoping to get one soon. Hugs, loves, grubs, and rubs. That's funny. Oh, you're in Eastern Canada. I like with a K there. Is that because it's under German rule now? A guy called Sol Kim had recorded the eulogy for Mac Flat Earth Fokker. Brian Staveley sent it to me this morning, so I checked that out. And Mac was a giant himself, you know. He was a giant, a truther, you know, flat Earth. He was certainly controversial and outspoken and spoke his mind in a way that very few people can. So you got to commend his courage. And then when 2020 rolled around, he quickly became the. I'm actually filming that way.
What?
I'm filming that way.
Oh, right, I didn't
I'm
know
filming
that.
what you're seeing, what
Oh,
you're doing.
well, why aren't you filming your pretty face?
Well, I don't want to see my face. But Mac was, yeah, one of a kind, really one of a kind, you know. I'm not going to get drawn into the conspiracy theories about some of the recent deceased. I think that Mac certainly carried his heart on his sleeve, and he put it all out there, you know. So much respect to Mac, and I'm sorry for his family's loss, and for the loss of, you know, a most vocal and most courageous truth speaker. Rest in peace, Mac Baha. I mean, you know, he did use some unusual protocol. I don't want to say the name, but people know he used a protocol which is known as a parasite cleanse, parasite killer. But parasite cleansing all on its own needs to be prepared for. You know, you have to make sure your body is in the right condition to parasite cleanse. You also have to make sure you use some agent to remove the parasite from your system. Otherwise, apparently the parasites and the toxins themselves can be released back into the body. The heavy metals that the parasites eat can be released back into the body, can find their way into other soft tissues. So I just wanted to say that. So you know, I think that we're trying our best, but sometimes we don't always get it right. So I'm a bit bummed about Mac. He was someone, we only chatted a few times, but we had a mutual respect. Street activists. In the community itself, there's a bunch of, call it mudslinging, I suppose. I don't want to get into the specifics of it, but it does feel like it's an ego journey for many of us. I've met a lot of flat earthers in my time, and we all still have our same, even though we know that the earth is flat, we still have our same program that we were given all the way through. Even walking through the door of the ballroom hall does not make you a ballroom dancer. You need to begin from the beginning again and learn all the steps anew. So, yeah, 3 a.m. in Eastern Canada is very late. I assume you haven't yet been to bed. You're on the Mississippi? Oh, man. I think I went past the Mississippi when I was younger. Did you see the supposed Nephilim fossil on Truth Seeker 69 channel? I did not see that. Perhaps I need to go and check it out. I am subscribed to her new channel. This Nephilim thing is coming up an awful lot these days. I remember, getting all the Nephilim stuff from, well, I suppose from Rob Skiba and co, and the giants and so on. I accept the theory of giants, and I accept that beings may have been much bigger. Nephilim. My head's a little confused about whether this is just man's goat's ego gone crazy, or there are these dark forces siphoning and sucking off and using up human energy, or stealing God's love. So there is uncertainty there. As much as these things kind of are fascinating, I always come back to, but what does it mean for me? Because even if there is a giant about to walk through the door, am I ready spiritually? If it's a giant, then we don't have anything to worry about from a physical point of view, because we cannot best that. If it's a tsunami, if it's a plasma thing, we cannot best that. We only need to have done our best within ourselves. Yeah, I'm as Max Streams, by the way. Let me say hello. I should sit up. Yubi. There's a guy in the chat. His name's Yubi. I've met him personally, and he is a former flat earther. I haven't actually drilled into what evidence he stumbled across that none of us have found to decide for him that he could go back to the religion of globes floating around gas particles. Can you imagine that? You've got this gas giant out in space that just holds itself together under its own mass. Yet none of us blokes who, are champion fighters have ever been able to drop our guts. I'm sorry about that, guys. I had a call come in that I really thought I needed to take. Hey, Ricardo. Um, how was the Flagtoberfest for you? That's good. Got to be a globe skeptic, geocentrist. Yes, you can't, Jack. You know, I actually heard of somebody. I was talking to Karen yesterday from Sun and Moon Family. She was doing a recording with Andrea and I today or tomorrow. Hard to do it, you know, because in flat Earth, it's interesting. Eh? Even within flat Earth, you're not necessarily talking to friends, but certainly when you're you know, trying to be someone like, I mean, I'll go back to the experience I had in the 2018 where that guy did that psychic bullshit on me, right? And that for me was like I know it may sound conspiratorial, but it was like a targeted event. It was a targeted attack, and it was an intended thing on me. And I know that if you don't have your own kind of, you're not making your own content, you don't necessarily know that it's, you know, it attracts all sorts of flies to the dung heap, as it were, and 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 so I don't really like putting all of my most painful parts of this journey out there for those people to salivate over, you know. And aside from that, all this time on the road without, you know, any continuity, it kind of robs me of that desire to speak. The funny thing is that when I get into the street and I connect to people here, that's the most amazing response, most wonderful response, and the most rewarding thing. You know. But I value the YouTube account. I value the subscribers and support that I get from you. I really do. And, you know, I would honor that more. Honestly, I would, were my situation more stable. But the story that we have walked through these last years is fantastic, actually. It's the most incredible, mind-bending story, and I think Andrew and I would not have chosen it. You know, it had to be forced on us. We had to be left with our backs to the wall so many times, nowhere else to turn but to go in the direction that is the only direction that is open to us. I guess we're all, many of us, being faced with similar um, decisions. Hey, Bertek. Nice to see you. The channel is Samfu. Yes, that's right. That's with Karen. We've done some stuff over the years. And you know, in her words, she likes to talk to real people about what's going on and their perspective. And so Andrea and I had the opportunity to talk to her yesterday. And it was a pretty a good chat. I think for me, I covered one of the most important bases, which is the thing about us, you know, the you at the center of this and center of the universe, and what is your remit, what is your mission in this life story, you know, what is your purpose here? And this fracturing that we see in, you know, here, even in the flat Earth community. I mean, I knew this all along, like right from the beginning of meeting flat Earthers, like, but we're still holding on to some very different beliefs and views, you know, even though we have this one truth in common. And that's why Flat Earth on its own is not all she wrote, because it doesn't solve the sins of your father, the sine wave carrying, the vibratory rippling of the pool of you that was initiated from generations before you were born, but was certainly affected very much so by the life that you've experienced. And this rippling, this undulation, the up and the down of the sine wave into the blue and down into the red, this imbalance of the goat and the sheep, it remains, even though you know certain truths, it certainly remains. And one of the probably primary common denominators in people that are this deep into truth is they have a certain certainty, or a certain what's the word I'm looking for? We tend to be very detail oriented and very focused and so on, almost like autistic in a way, where we are extremely clever in one area but not necessarily in all areas. So a flat earther who could recite vast tomes of writing, might not be able to tie his own shoelaces, but he to make it more specific to what I'm trying to say, is that he's not necessarily going to have all the tools in his kit bag to do the inner work, the spiritual sort of side of things. That's why these scientists that you meet are super intelligent guys, but they don't want to hear at all anything about the esoteric hidden stuff that's going on. It's just outside of their frame of reference. And friends of mine in flat earth are similar like that. They'll be totally focused on a particular subset. As I described it on Karen's thing yesterday, it's like you are the hub of the wheel. You can focus all your attention on one or two spokes, but it is going to mean you have a bumpy ride. There needs to be a balance in all elements of your universe. So there's the knowledge, there's the spiritual, there's the physical, and probably a few other key elements of the who you are. At the center of your universe. And what they love to do is to give us all these rabbit holes to run down and keep ourselves in that one segment of the wheel, that one spoke of the wheel.
So it's your truth. The truth is written in your heart. That's the truth, isn't it? What all this outside truth should do is lead us back to the ultimate truth, which is the truth that's been hidden from us, and that is the truth that's written on your heart.
There you go.
And you may have to peel back the layers, and people do that in different ways, but that's the truth.
But how do people go about that? Because I think it's one of the most challenging elements, because in a way we're good at studying, we're good at taking the knowledge and the numbers and this so on and saying, look, we can calculate this and prove this and evidence that. But we're not so good at embedding practices in the self. Some people are, it's interesting, you'll find those people that are super good at all those practices, but they're not able to integrate the centrality of a flat earth cosmology. So
Well, I think it comes back to love, doesn't it? And love, self-love, self-forgiveness, feeling things, because we're programmed not to feel things. Now, our conditioning is, oh, you've got a sad feeling, we don't want you to have a sad feeling. Oh, you're angry, we don't want you to be angry. It's just we're not taught how to channel those feelings or express those feelings. And so when they do come out, they come out, in the wrong way. But yeah, I think it's getting back to the self, getting back to God's self,
And how do we go about that?
Well, that's the part that we're hopefully going through right now. We're facing ourselves, or hopefully, I think this is what this time is. It's the time of really going deep and looking at ourselves. Someone posted a little picture. I'm taking time off to look at my own shit. Will you read that?
Mm-hmm.
And how many people are actually prepared to say, well, you know, what is it that I'm bringing to humanity, to the collective? That's the hard part.
Yeah, and I wanted to say something there, but I kind of lost it. Okay, so we've learned all of the things that we've learned. We know the things that we know now, which are vast by comparison to what we once knew. And the question is, do you ever stop and alchemize that? You know, you've just won first place in a race, the big competition in first place. Do you stop and sort of alchemize that and go, well, I am now the fastest guy in my country, or I am now the fastest guy in my town? And, you know, do you stop and kind of enjoy that, or you just say, okay, well, tomorrow I've got to start running for the next race, which is to be the fastest guy in the continent and eventually on the planet. On the planet, because eventually, you know, you might want to compete against the Martians when they arrive. But anyway, the point is really that that you know, you've gained great insight, and what does it mean for me? You know, and this has been my thought for a few years, is what does it mean for me? And what did they do to me, and why did they do it to me? Well, what was that they put me through all sorts of experiences and traumas and so on, from the needle in the foot at birth onwards, and the conditioning, and that conditioning was about a sense of, you know, righteousness and so on. As you know, well, it was that, you know, in the black-white South African apartheid discussion, that you know, we were right for our position, and South Africa was right for this, or capitalism and the Americans were right for that against the Soviets, and the Germans were wrong for that, you know, blah, blah, blah. And my religion was the right religion, and even within my religion, the subset of my religion was more right, perhaps, than another subset of the same dogma. So, you know, that's what we're programmed for, is we are programmed to have this, we're better than that lot, you know. And we have a greater sense of entitlement than we have a greater entitlement than them. And it's played, you know, in every place. It's not like it's unique to South Africa or UK or anywhere else. It's ongoing. It's all over. So just discovering that the flat Earth is much more close to what we observe and so on, and that the globe has been a grand deception, does not change all of the programming of that egocentric, my country. I mean, I saw all the way through you know, the Trump election, with all of the Americans like flying the flag. The flat earthers flying the American flag, and it's like, you guys not getting it yet. You know, that flag is a symbol of your slavery. That flag is a symbol of choosing one team over another. You know, it's a form of racism. But countryism, cuntism, would that be the right word? So, you know, I think, you know, and this is what people haven't really lost, still haven't lost their club membership, you know. we all castigate the Freemasons for their membership of that club, and yet we're all associated, most of us, to some club, which has the same fingerprints on it as Freemasonry. But we were programmed to be that. We were programmed to say, yes, my team, my red team, my blue team, my black team is the right team. And still deep in, all the Q people, the people that were still like, there's a savior coming from you. And it's like, wow, these guys are serious flat earth researchers, and they're into, the false flags and all these things. They know all of this is all a lie, and yet they're holding on to club membership. Why? But because finding out that the earth is flat does not strip away the indoctrination. And as I've cited earlier on, you've got examples of people who find out the earth is flat, and still the indoctrination sweeps over them just a few weeks or months later, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, of course it's spinning and it's round. Like a sphere, oblate, spheroid. They love saying that, don't they? When you say to them, like, really fairly long words together, it makes it seem like that's a more credible kind of, let's say, okay, so the ocean curves are this much here, then it curves a little bit more there, though depending on where you stand, of course, because if you stand here, then it's not curving as much, but when you get further away, like my friend in South America, it's curving very much there. I've never been there, but if I went there, of course, it wouldn't be curving very much, because relativity magically makes me the place where the water is flat, flatter for a while. That's why even those flat earthers who say 8 inches per mile squared, they're also caught up in relativity. They say that the earth is a little bit flat where I stand, but if my friend, he's 100 miles away, it's curving a lot more over there. No, flat earthers. If you lived on a globe, the ball, forget the oblate sphericity, the ball would have the same amount of curvature everywhere. 8 inches per mile squared is another lie. I don't know why big channels continue to push that as real, but is, I mean, they know it's not real, but as an acceptable thing, because actually when you do what I say, suggest, that is that you go from the north to the south pole, just to say the north is at the top and the south is at the bottom, and it's 12,000 miles over the land and water from one to the other, and you're going to descend in that 12,000 mile journey, you're going to descend 8,000 miles, which is a 2 to 3 ratio, so for every mile I walk, I must lose 2/3 of a mile. That's really it. It's as simple as that. Obviously, the tourists feel that I think we live inside of the universe where everything is an oblate spheroid, probably, but all of that is just fluff to try and confuse people. And of course, it wouldn't be the case that the ocean where I happen to stand is only curving at a small amount, but further away it's going to become appreciably more. The ship will have to get more and more quickly steeper. And what they've done, while I'm talking about it, because if you're at all interested, is that I think the way that they've tricked us is to say that I'll draw a pencil line at the top of my ball here, and then I'll move down to the 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock position on the clock, and then I'll draw another pencil line. And the problem is the pencil line, because you see, the pencil line assumes at the very top of the ball that the ship is sitting perpendicular to the surface of the earth, to the core, and when you move, let's say, to the 3 o'clock position, you move the ship to the a quarter of the way around the glob. The pencil line is still in exactly the same alignment. It's horizontal with the original pencil line at the top of the globe. But if it was a ship, the ship would have had to have changed its aspect by 90 degrees. So we never account for that change. That actually the ship itself, the pencil line, can no longer be horizontal. It has to be incrementally pointing downwards, and eventually, when it gets to the 180 degrees, it's actually upside down from its original position. So that 180-degree shift in the alignment of the vessel, I've never seen that calculated in. When I did that thing with Jeranism 2 years ago, if any of you saw it, I wasn't well prepared, but I don't think that came up when he rebutted my assertion. I mean, these guys, to be fair, they thought about it, Bob and Jaron, they thought about it previously and discounted it. But to me, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I think that's as simple as that. It's simple as you're traveling 12 from north to south, and you're traveling down, dropping elevation by 8. So it's as simple as that. But fundamentally, you cannot also, you cannot laugh at the Globers for their relativity brainwash, and then apply the same relativity brainwash to the 8 inch per mile squared nonsense. Because think about it. We have always said, oh, look, it's 8 inches here at this mile, but at 100 miles, it's going to drop in that last mile. That's going to drop hundreds of feet in that last mile. But if you had to fast forward to that position and say again, oh, are you sure that ship's coming 100 feet or 200 feet down over this last mile? And you'd say, no, of course not. It's only descending by 8 inches in this last mile. So 8 inches per mile squared is another lie. It's another lie. Anyway, I find that with all the fracturing in the flat Earth community, I can't. I don't want to get involved in the kind of titting and tatting and all that. There's a lot of bitchiness, but I think, again, there's a lot of ego. There's a lot of wounded people. There's a lot of people that are so mistrusting. And there's a lot of people who absolutely need to be right. I've met a lot of them that are, the most vegan or the most, climate change, whatever. There a woman the other day, sex trafficking, particularly of minors, was her field of excellence, expertise. And for her, that's all she needed to know. And that's all she needs to know, and all I needed to know in order to kind of free the world. And it's like, no, honey, because you actually have to do work on you. You are so caught up in this world that you are almost living it. It's almost like you are at a soul level experiencing the horror that you're spending so much time researching. I don't want to get into like the he said and she said and all that. And thankfully, I'm not of much significance in the flat Earth community, such that people have felt that need to sling mud since time when Eric DeVay put that video of me on about being a government agent. But so what? But what is the effect of that? What is the effect of? Well, it shows people to be. It kind of gets people to kind of join the gang again. It's like, okay, so us, us particular group have to stand together against those who don't. And it doesn't matter what religion or group you look into. Within that group, there's those that stand more closely. As a kid, I used to say to my mom, why don't we get together with all the, we were Anglican church. Why don't we get together with all the other denominations at certain festivals and times of the year and so on, but they didn't, the Methodists and the Afrikaans churches here and so on. They're all superior in their own little subgroup. And we've got to, as part of our learning, I think we have to realize that we're higher than that. The groups are the division. Those are the choices that keep us divided. So we have to realize that we're higher than that, and we have to, we don't have to, but ideally we go from being so caught up in our little subgroups, indoctrination camps, to something much higher than that. Anyway, I'm just quickly say hello to chat. Where's everyone? I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. I just met Flatober because I went up to. You went up to a beer fest in Michigan, and my eyesight is going bad.
Yeah, my hands are no more trips this month.
Yeah, I think Flatoberfest would have been a better bet. I have to be honest with you.
I don't
People
think
had a good
it
time.
wasn't beer fest, it was bear fest.
Oh, okay. Was that something to do with what's his name? Owen Benjamin. London Calling. How is London? I kind of miss it. We miss it. In some ways, and I know if I was there, I'd probably be out on the street. There's so many people getting out on the street. It's hard not to be part of that. South Africa's got nothing like that happening, and maybe I can start something. Ricardo said hello to you.
Hey.
What is that name? Jacinda.
Jerusha?
Oh, Jerusha. Sorry, my eyesight is not reading the light text very well. I knew Earth was flat when I was 6. My little cousin said, we can dig a hole in the USA and come up in China. I said, no. I knew Global Bull when I was a small kid. But then, you kind of fall into line, don't you? You're kind of beaten into line by your education system. That's my experience. They let you think what you wanted. Cool. Hopefully they haven't fought you now that you tell them it's flat. There's no flag flying. But I did witness a lot of that. Yeah, man, I remember Jeranism going to like a big protest in where Sacramento, and seeing just look like some kind of Trump rally, and it was like, are you guys serious? You think that this is going to change? People who still voted for Trump, like, forget that, but he's presided over the face nappy thing, and he had to let other people. Thanks for that, Vertic. Yeah, it's meant to be snowing. I heard that it was cold there.
Yeah, Nick said it was particularly cold.
Yeah. Hey, Vertic, you don't know if anyone is in the chat happens to be in England. We have a little bit of a conundrum, actually. We've got a small amount of stuff, like, I'm going to say 10 suitcases worth of stuff in a storage that is going to be emptied in a few weeks' time. Do you know of anyone if I could arrange to get it delivered to somewhere, like a little back of a garage or something for a year or two? That would be awesome. If you know of anyone, that would be great. So let me know. There's one thing, I guess I don't want to go on too long. I'm grateful for those who are finding their way to watch and have the time to watch my stuff, but my view count is disappointing, I'll be honest. And that's how it is, a couple of strikes down, and obviously, the content is not popular, and people are, doing other things. They're going on other channels, and they have other things to do, and hopefully they're spending time meditating and earthing and sun gazing and doing all the right stuff for themselves. But I do feel like I still have a purpose here to do things, and both online and in person. Really, I've had really good feedback from in-person action, and so I'm very eager to get support for a mini or a tour of sorts here, in South Africa, where possible, to be able to go, and do something that is, eye-catching in the street. And
Jack's dreaming says morning.
I see Jax is there. How's London? I believe it's cold. Oh, Jax, I wanted to tell you about something I saw the other night. I was standing here on this piece of land, and we're out in the sort of sticks a bit, and there's not a lot of ambient light, city light at all. And then I see this string of lights, like I'm going to say 8, but I can't be sure of that. Almost like 8 stars, but attached to each other, like not. I've seen stars drifting through, little stars drifting through the sky, particularly in Portugal last year, where, it's like, oh, there's another one, like a little firefly just slowly drifting across the sky. You've obviously seen those. But this was different. This was also drifting and just moving in a straight line. Not a plane, no flashing lights or anything like that. It was just a string of stars, as I say, 7, 8 of them, all tightly in a line, almost like a train, just all moving along. And it was like, I'm calling Andrea and others from the house, come on. Only Alexander saw it, but he verified that it was, it was quite remarkable. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like that, but I thought I'd mention it to somebody who's like got an eye on the sky to see whether, they've seen something like that before. And I got to watch it for a minute. It was moving quite steadily and slowly, not a shooting star at all, just a train of stars being shunted. Anyway, and Jax, I don't know if you were on the chat when I started saying that I'm looking for someone in London or the area who might have a little corner, a back fifth of a garage, just to put a few boxes that are still of our possessions that we still own, that are in a storage unit that's going to be emptied soon. I would obviously arrange to get them delivered somewhere. But if you know of anyone, if you can let me know, email me, trinityforman@gmail.com. But I've just been talking a little bit about the fracturing and actually, yeah, the ego, it's not, I'm not being critical, it's just the fact is that just because we found the flat earth does not mean our ego and our imbalances and our childhood traumas and so on have been assuaged. And we will never assuage them by truth seeking out there. Because the truth seeking out there is like, wow, there's something very important going on, and this is my subject of interest. If it's sky watching, history watching, science, whatever, these are my subjects of interest, and these are the things I'm going to continue doing. But at the same time, it's like, you got to know that it's about you. You've got to know it's about you, that you are center stage and in the most divine way. And I see a good friend of mine is in the chat from Melbourne, Mac. We've seen your latest videos. I was impressed with your guns there, mate. Mark started his last video with his biceps up. I put a t-shirt on the other day, and my t-shirt was flapping around my arms. I remembered, like, wow, there's a time when this t-shirt was tight on my arms. But I'm not complaining. But I'm glad you are. I hope you are in really going in a good way there in your yurt. If you don't know Mark of Melbourne, you should subscribe to his second channel. His first one got kicked. And those guys in Melbourne, they've been put through the ringer, man. I mean, if we're in Shawshank prison, then these guys are in Shawshank Extra Max prison because they've gone hard on the Aussie peeps, it would seem. He's had to have papers to travel down the road, and he started a business making yurts. If I've got any of this wrong, I apologize. Making yurts, and he's currently living in one. I think you sold your business now. Hopefully you've got the necessary means to establish everything you need there, brother. He has a website, or he's involved in a website called preparingyou.com. I think that's what it's called. It might be more Christian based than I would kind of want for my way of thinking, again, coming back to the club memberships. But it's great to have people kind of coming together and working on community. But this is the I don't know what the future's meant to look like. Whether it's meant to be these little pockets of communities, all with different little beliefs and different little Puritan kind of practices, or we don't eat this, or we only do that on Sunday. We do this. I mean, this is maybe how it all starts and how it all becomes like that. I don't know. I don't want to be one making any rules for anyone else.
I think it's divisiveness, isn't it? And if there's any time, but now, where we need to be coming together and lifting each other up, it's now. Humanity needs each other.
Yeah,
so,
we do.
Any division, and of course we know there's this huge one going on at the moment. In the mainstream, and it's all divisive, when actually as humans we're actually more connected than we realize. That's unfortunately where the ego gets involved,
and all the division programming, that's why actually one of the things that you cannot appreciate unless you're actually standing in my head or standing next to me, is that when I get on a flow here in South Africa, I have moments often, like I used to have sometimes in Speaker's Corner or doing activism, where you lock into the people you're talking to and they are absolutely taking information. And I really, really have moved people. I've had people say to me things like, I've gone to gangsters. The one time we were taking Patrick, this homeless guy, back to his granny and stuff, and to do that we had to take him to his homeless shelter, which is in the roughest part of Durban. A family had just been killed there just a few weeks before, and we're parked there waiting for Patrick, and over the road from me there's 5 or 6 gangster looking dudes sitting on the wall there, and I can see over time, because we're sitting there 10 minutes now, and I can see over time these guys are starting to eye these white people up. And I mean, even Patrick, when he left the car, he said, make sure to lock the door when I get out the car, right? And so I'm sitting there starting to think to myself, I have 2 options here. I can either drive around the corner and give Patrick a little bit more time to get his stuff together, or I can go and talk to these guys. And so I took the latter option, and I got out the car and I fronted these guys and I gave them some information, and I would say 2 of them, certainly 1, but probably 2 of them were really moved by the information. And when I walked away from them, I didn't have to look back to look over my shoulder to say, hey, they're about to chase me down. These lads knew that they'd been spoken to by someone serious and someone who had an important message. And the number of times that I've now encountered people that are clearly like gangster types or whatever, some of them are so down dark in their place of gangsterism that they don't want to hear this message of light. And that's fair enough. But I've also had guys whose eyes have lit up, and they've connected to me, and they've given me a high five or knuckles or shaken my hand or given us a hug or whatever, and been smiling like happy people. You meet them and they're initially like, and what's this white guy coming on me for, and I leave them invariably, almost always, going like, hey man, I hear you, brother, thanks for that information. And I think that's where the good work is at, not to downplay the vital online knowledge seeking and research and community building, not to downplay that, but really, as I've found with this last year, certainly of instability, it's really difficult to give of your best when you are sort of fighting fires in other parts of the building. And And that's why I've had moments where I've really been able to kind of get out there, and then there's been long periods where I've not. And I think that we all need to be mindful that if we're in fight, we might just as well be in fright. We might just as well be thinking that, a German is about to breathe into my body and assassinate me. So I hear all of these arguments, I suppose, or differences of opinion and stuff, and they're like, well, do we really want to get into all of that? And if you are still, and this is one of the problems with fundamentalism, if you are still caught up in that, then you are in the sort of fight or flight, you're caught up in the fight or flight thing, because you're fighting for I think so. I hope I'm not misspeaking, but I feel that what it feels like is that you're still holding a particular dogma, which is not necessarily good for your own self, and obviously community cohesion. Because if I truly believed that black was different to white, and I knew I was somehow superior, then these people that I'm talking to would pick that up. They would know that. In their hearts, they would not feel moved. They would not feel connected. They would not be willing to put their hands around a guy who, in this country, the white guy has a particular, history. He's been a particular player in black people's lives here. So, people can tell that. And that sincerity, that connection, and that thing is the thing that we need to be giving people if we're going to be successful. And we will be. Anyway, I do hope that it's all freeing up for you, Mark of Melbourne. And when I say that, obviously I realize I'm realistic that the system is on a one-way journey. It's not for turning, it's not for changing, it's not for hearing any other thing. As you probably heard me say, 550,000 people lost their lives for all reasons, old age predominantly, but 550,000 people lost their lives in South Africa in 2019, 556,000 in 2020. So that's 1% up. Same size pizza, but they've just sliced it with an extra slice and told the children that it's a bigger pizza. Look, kids, there's 10 slices now. The last time we got you an 8-slice pizza. Now it's 10. Oh, we got a bigger pizza today. Don't tell them. It's exactly the same weight. So, and I tell people that, but it doesn't. We're so far down. We're so far from the station of April 2020. We're so far from that people can't cast their minds back to that time and say, you mean that all the stations we've stopped at, the nappy on the face station and the poisoning the hand station, what others? Oh, cell block station where you can't visit anybody. All of those stations. The shut your work down station. All of those stations were unnecessary. All of them. But haven't you heard the different version of that? All of them. You got to go, but people cannot dial their minds back to a pre-April 2020 time. We just used to hang out, hug, maybe kiss a girl, not even think about whether she was gonna, be the last one. Oh, am I worth it, darling? Am I worth it? This could cost you your life. As I said, they're eventually going to invent the entire body condom so that people can copulate without any exchange. I suppose you'd have to have a diver's tank on as well, just to make sure. But it's not going away, guys, and it's just going to get crazy. So crazier. So just like let's not freak out about that, and let's not be like maybe not be so surprised by they go, oh look, we've just found a new variable. We're going to call it abracadabra, ABC. What kind of moronic word could we come up with? Moronic word? Oh, Omicron? That's a moronic word. Yeah, let's do that then. So we've got to stop, being so, I think, so concerned by this. It's horrible. It's horrible. Trust me, I'm not, and I've got friends, even in Australia, a nurse friend of mine in Sydney, he's, on the bus, man, with them, and it doesn't matter to him that all sorts of further constrictions are going to be brought to bear on our world, and it is what it is. But it doesn't, I'm just trying to say I do get upset about that. It's not like I'm saying I don't get upset or I'm not emotionally connected to all the old people or the children's psychology. But I'm also saying that if we put our 100% of our energy into staring at the departing train as it goes past the station of complete and total psychopathy, we are not going to do the work on ourselves. And when the flood comes, whatever kind of flood it is, metaphysical, metaphorical, it doesn't matter. Whatever flood comes, we will not have spent time working on ourselves. There's a marathon looming in the months ahead. Are you getting out there and practicing, or are you just watching videos of your mates practicing? That's not a thing. So I am. You're relocating to the countryside this week? Fantastic, Jax. Good for you. Very happy. Mark says, Malcolm Allen says, we're building an alternative to Social Security for the needs of the I can say that word? I'm not sure if I can say that word. The unjabbed. Can I say that even? It's a like teetering thing, I know you lost the channel already, Mark, but my channel has video footage of Alexander on it that I would hate to lose. That's my thing, Obviously, it would be hard to kind of build back the channel again from scratch, but losing that content would mean the most to me. But we've got to get on building these alternative communities, building an alternative way. But guys, we don't do it simply from learning that the earth is flat and then coming together with a flat earth jamboree. It's not how it works, We're a very damaged humankind, very damaged. So one truth does not solve the problem. We have to walk right. I say, it's like the sine wave that we focus on, like the up and down, like this sine wave is, obviously, as I said earlier, it's blue is the skies, the cold, the lungs, the upper, the head, the heavens. The red is the lower, the hellish, hot, security, things like that. And the center is the green, earth, heart, middle line. And I think that's the kind of the more sharp the peaks and troughs of the sine wave that you're carrying from your father and from your life experience, then the more highs and lows. Then we see those people who spend all of their time up in the blue, all the meditators and all of that, the vegans perhaps. Oops, don't want to pick on them today, but all of the blue stuff, and then those who are maybe still more all in the ego stuff, all in the want to focus on the horrors and so on stuff, and not to downplay those, but I think that the neutral place, the balance point, is to have observed and experienced and have gone into these different states of vibration, upper, lower, hot, cold. We must experience and then find a neutral. But why I wanted to bring this up is because we typically think like that. You've probably all heard Santos talk about that, or other people talk in a similar way. But I think that is typically describing if you take the Christian cross, that's actually typically describing the main up and down beam of the cross. The lower and the higher, and then the left and the right arms of the cross are denoting a different kind of energetic state. So we are, and to think in the human terms, we are left and right. We are pulled left and right. So to kind of keep it simple, I know I had this clever in my mind earlier, a few weeks ago, but to keep it simple, you could get someone who is, let's just say, super heavenly, super spiritual, super religious, but they could also be left or right, leaning rather than centrist in their just say their political leaning, right? So we have actually two dimensions to the state of balance. It's not just the sine wave over the green. It's actually the up and down and the left and right. I think that's why the Catholics do that with their fingers, because ultimately what they're doing is they're pointing to the center, the center of the cross. You can't see me pointing, but the center of the cross is the center of you. That's the heart, isn't it? And that is the balance point between the left and the right, and the up and the down. And I think that's what we're encouraged by the teachings of Jesus and others to find in ourselves, is that midpoint on the cross. Not get caught out on the left wing or too up in the heavens. It's a balance. So how communities are going to look in the future is obviously something that's going to have to evolve in its own way. But I'm staying at the moment on a farm, a part of an old farming community, and what they reflect here from 2 to 3 generations ago is that everybody knew everybody in the district, and they all came around and brought a little bit of milk here, or this one brought some of this, that one did that. There was all that sort of self, but that a lot has gone away, and people are very insular now, and they're whether it's the fear of this or the fear of that, over the generation or so, it's all gone away. And let's just say you were able to catapult the bullshit of the globe lie, heliocentrism out of people's minds overnight. Would this district become like all, milking their own cows and, responsibly raising food and things without, all the poison and so on? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That travel takes quite a time and a willingness to do that as well, awareness and willingness to do that. And I think that we still have a long way to go. But there's people like what Mark and Melbourne doing, and maybe Pineal Foundation with Martin Kenny, and there are others not coming to mind right now, but maybe these groups will learn lessons that we all need to learn about how we communize. That's the thing about communes, isn't it? It is part of the word communism, and communism is kind of nice. The kibbutz idea and so on. And I used to think, oh well, it is kind of nice that everybody sort of mucks in and does something. But communes can also be a little bit like, once you join the commune, you need to do this at this time of the day, and there's an expectation that you do that, or we don't. In the case of Martin Kenny's one, you meet is bad for the human. So that's a restriction that would be that would immediately cut some people out of that. And having spent now 2 years, a lot of which living in other people's place, I know that it's really best for each man to be his own master, rather than be a land tenant or a guest, because we need to put down good roots. I think we need roots. There's nothing wrong with traveling and getting out there and doing activism and so on, but doing it without a base means that you're unstable. I think actually one of the things about Flat Earth coming out when it did was it helped to destabilize all these thinkers that were probably a lot better set in their lives before Flat Earth, in terms of their relations with people around them. Now they're like outcasts, and but these outcasts are diamonds. And I tell you what, I'm really keen to see how Mark of Melbourne manages. Australia's got so much open space. I know that there's a lot to it. Enough blabbering. Well, thanks. Hey, Joshua. Love to you, brother, and the family. Joshua keeps, he's got a lovely wife, and he keeps having these Flat Earth babies. So just keep it up, mate. Keep that TV turned off, and yeah, I mean, one of the hardest things, Joshua, is for us is being away from Jessica and Luke, all the children, for those who don't know, who are in England, and 22 and 20, so they're not children, but it's one of the most difficult things of this, is not being able to kind of get with people, and that's the hardest. We've really struggled with that. And so on a good day, I would say that, wherever we end up, we are trying to set ourselves up so that we can have friends and family join such a community, How do you do it? What are the conditions to kind of enter and so on? Because you can easily find a situation where, if you're in a commune and you've got 5 people and 2 of them are just sitting on their backside and waiting for the grass to grow, it's like, that's not that's not the best formula, is it? And again, just because people know that they've been lied to does not mean they've set aside a lifetime of programming of, how do you get food? You go down to the shop, you pull out a piece of plastic and you swipe it and they give you the food. It's a very different thing to, getting in and getting your hands dirty or getting your creation on, because, let's be honest, if everybody got given, let's just say 2 years and no bills to find 3 years and no bills to find your most creative outlet, and it didn't cost you money to tool up, people would be doing very different things to that they are now, and it's hard to find your way to that creative outlet while you're still having to find the bills, but we got to work towards that, right? And we got to work towards being these super magnets that are going to pull in the right kind of love and energy and community and so on. And, we like Mark of Melbourne's energy, so I really hope that he's able to do something amazing out there. And Jackson, when you get to the countryside as well, good luck with all of that. The vertex picking up that the middle path, the path with the heart. It is the central. It's the central chakra. And actually, I saw someone put it out like this the other day. I don't want to take credit for thinking of this, but at the chakras we tend to think of as 7 individual little energy balls up the body, the primary ones. But this guy put it more like a Fibonacci sequence that spirals out from the center, from the heart, and then as it gets bigger and bigger, it becomes these other points in the system. And I really like that, that there is a single emanation from which everything spirals. And I started to wonder, right, I didn't expect to talk about this morning, but I started to wonder whether actually the belly button isn't the primary torus insertion point into or from the body. The belly button, because that is obviously the primary connection to the mother. Men will know that fluff tends to swirl around and whirl around and gather in the belly button. They're rather like magnets. So I wonder whether there isn't an electromagnetic thing there. And so then when I had the DMT, I had this vision of I could see beneath myself this blue, massive, giant being that was me, a higher version of me. And he was lying down in state, as it were. So I did wonder whether actually our natural state, when we're lying down, see, when you're lying down, if you imagine lying on your bed now, and that your belly button was the center of the torus, then doesn't it change the whole way we've ever thought about it? Because we've always thought about the torus coming out of the top of the head and then like running into the CLI torus in between the legs. And that's how I've typically thought about it. But now I'm retooling that and thinking, well, what if it's that actually when your torus is in its typical apple position, the way that we do it, but only when you're lying on your back. So when you're lying on your back, say you've got this torus that goes around you, and of course there would be one that's above you. It's not double torus or triple torus, as I suggest. I think that, but I do wonder that. So let me just, if I may, it's weird having this conversation without someone to reflect back to me. But imagine if God is lying on his back, or its back, and the torus emanates from the navel, which is why we have all our ships are naval ships. The Navy, it's naval, and that we're actually sailing around the waters of God's belly. And anyway, I'm getting a little bit into the weeds here with this, but it's just another way of thinking about the torus. That actually our torus emanates from our belly button, and then in that way you could say, oh, is it emanating up and down? Is that the hemisphere? Is that the equator at the belly button? And is it going up and down or whatever? It's just food for thought. And it's weird to have these things without anybody to rebut or to ask questions or to, whatever. We haven't yet got the laptop. When we get a laptop, we will move to maybe being able to invite people back on.
Yeah, we thought open forum, a little bit of conversation.
Yeah. Dean even? Is that what Jack said? Dean even? The heart emits the most magnetic energies for about... Yeah. Yes, accepted that. I accept that. Actually, I should show you the flyer that we did. Don't you want to grab one inside? Just here. There's some here. We made up this flyer with the help of Glyph, an American dude.
Can I just insert something from that? The brain is. But here's an interesting thing that I've learned is that your neurotransmitters, or the most information you're getting, is from your stomach. It's 80% or something. The brain's only 15% of the messages. So actually, our brain is merely a piece of equipment.
What about the heart?
Processor. What about the heart?
Well, the Egyptians used to say that our brain was in our heart or something.
I suppose it depends what you mean by brain.
But then if you're heart-centered, I accept that the gut is like doing an awful lot. But if we're meant to be heart-centered beings, you see, everything's all happening up here in the brain. now we're getting told everything's now happening in the gut. Well, maybe
But I'm not saying
it's
everything.
like maybe it's somewhere in the middle.
I'm just saying
Yes.
from a point of view of our brain, actually, it's not. And maybe that's.
Yeah. Can you see that, Vertic? Pardon me. That'll be back to front, unfortunately. Let me just turn the camera around and then you can see it the right way. So you can see that the love heart vibration. We really hit that in this flyer. So this is my Love, Truth and Sovereignty, our Love, Truth and Sovereignty promotion, which I did 5,000 flyers and I've given about almost 4,000 out myself. So you see me running up and down the beachfront in Durban. And then sometimes long conversations, sometimes not. Love is fundamental. Andrew and I were going through a bit of a challenging time when we put this together, so I would probably do it slightly differently if I was to do it again. But I've offered people information on natural immunity and divine law, natural law, and informed consent. So that was my flyer. That's the A side, and then what are your sovereign rights? This is it here. So I use the pink because pink is the inner chakra of the heart, not red like people think. So this is it, and I also put the Declaration on Bioethics and Human Rights, Article 6, the consent. And then this lovetruthsovereignty.com, which Greg is very kindly helping me to put together still. So yeah, where are we going? I don't know. Let's see. Oh, and Joshua, sorry I haven't called you, my friend.
There's Josh on there.
Yeah. Okay. 3:30. He gets back. Hey, don't get me to say 3:30. That could land me in a whole lot of hot water, man. He said 33 because 3:30 reduces to 33. Now I'm saying 33 again and again and again. I'm really trying to hammer it home, aren't I? Anyway. And actually, I had this thought recently, like, shit, I hope I don't die because I'll have people like, running around shouting that I was somehow like, only paid to do this and, all the acting bullshit. There's been a lot of that, and it's not hard to get people to turn on us and go, yeah, he wasn't legit. Again, because people are wounded and they're untrusting. And I spoke with Mac a good few times, and he seemed like the real deal to me. So. I don't know where this goes, but I guess we've just got to keep ourselves in the center, balanced, neutral, hey, friends? That's what you want. And there's big shoes still to drop. There's another twist of the knife coming. Maybe this is already it with this Omni thing, but there's another twist of the knife coming. And this Christmas is obviously going to be all affected, and youngster here told me she can't go back to university next year unless she takes one in the arm. Yep. This is Jan South Africa. They've already told him that. You want to go to campus? One in the arm. Anyway, it's good. There is going to be more, and I think that those who are making such great strides in getting themselves onto the land and preparing themselves for changes. I think you're absolutely doing the right thing. You are in the vanguard. People will come. People will follow. People will want to learn from you. And I guess the best that any of us can do is be the best example. Walk in the way that Jesus or Muhammad or one of these one of these teachers have instructed. Whatever works for you. But I say to anyone, like, if you own a car, it's a good idea to look at the manual, get some driving lessons and so on. But after that, you need to get out and become the best driver you can be. You don't need the driving instructor to stay with you all the time. You know the basics. You may go for an advanced course at some point. Again, the teacher of that advanced course does not become your master and does not need to ride with you every step of the way. You must be sailing your own ship. If you are not, then you are still requiring some kind of nanny, some piloting. And you should only need that at certain times. There's certain moments in our lives where the bombs are falling and the shit's going down, and you need that instructor to come back and give you a little bit of insight. But really, he wants to kick your backside and say, get out there, go and fight in the trenches on your own. You don't need me. You've had all the schooling. You know yourself better than anyone else. So I think I have to I can't read. I can read it's part of Lockstep, but I'm not sure. Is that Deborah? No, it can't be. How's it, mate? I'm almost finished. Look on. Fine. Thanks, Jax, for the flyer coming.
All stout hearts are needed in these strange times. Oh, Pat Fitz.
Oh, Pat. Yeah, and Singe Man. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to call it quits there. And Vertex says hi.
Hi.
And hi, guys from the UK. How are you all? 4:32. Hi. We're okay, actually. And yeah.
It's a one day at a time thing.
Yeah, we're living one day at a time.
Actually, with everything so uncertain in the world, it's probably a good thing for us to be present, try and find stillness, and just take one day at a time. And it's that surrender into what's gonna unfold.
Yeah.
Not always easy to do, but.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're saying the information. Yeah. No. I get you, and I think that it's been it's and so because someone said to me yesterday, oh well, it's probably because they've done it to Botswana and South Africa because they were not taking up the needle here. Needlecraft is not a big thing here. But it's more than that, and so it was planned long before that. I mean, they would have known that the Africans are very suspicious of the white man in his coat, the white man in a white coat with a white singe in his hand, fork tongue. Anyway,
yeah. 432 said, one day at a time. Yeah, just hang in there, and that's why it's good to kind of to chat with people that you can talk to about these kind of things, because
I'll try and do this a little bit more often. It's been hard for me to kind of, believe it or not, to kind of talk on this platform in this way.
I've got food on the stove, so lots of love, everybody.
Okay. All right, Nathan's popped in. Hey, mate. And Kimmy, nice to see you. Thanks, Jax. You and good luck with your move. Later, everyone. Take care. That's a good way to end it. Throw the one down. We're going down to the. I hope it's for the knuckle dragging exercise. Yeah. Hey. Let's see what transpires, and I think you're just on that, the knuckle dragging is freaking annoying in a way, but it's like if we can't rise ourselves above that, we're going to be so caught up, in the bloody annoyance of this. But it's an internal. It's like it's like in a way, you know, let's say someone is born deaf, you can't be having a go at them for not being able to hear you, you know. That's just how they were born. And maybe that's, I'm not trying to be unkind, just maybe that's how it's got to be, that's how it is. So treat them with love. But the problem is that they're going to be standing across the street saying, yes, you must stand in line, you should be put in behind bars because you haven't taken one up the backside from the master, you know. It's horrendous, you know, and it's worth actually letting the emotions flow, and some days being angry and some days crying about it and going, my God, you know, everything that we ever got was a lie, and everything that in our world is like this guy who, he may not be watching still, but this guy, he's a local guy who I met the other day, who was a flat earther for 5 minutes. You know, he doesn't understand, I guess, why he saw my last video, why, you know, you look depressed. Well, fuck. I mean, I haven't had the luxury, not that he has necessarily, but I haven't had, this is not personal, I haven't had the luxury of being able to kind of cocoon myself away from the insanity. And I have wanted to talk against the insanity. And I see, you know, humanity slipping down the slide of insanity. So it is, for me, vexatious. However, I know I have to learn to be in a more balanced and neutral state of loving and what have you. And, I might not know anything about the next week of my life, but I need to be more present and happy in this moment and enjoying it and so on. So I hope that applies to you too.